YouTube family? Welcome back, or welcome to Recruiting Board. Damn, the Super Bowl start today. 5:30, West Boylston versus Carver. We kicking it off in D8. I'll be out there. It is Super Bowl season, y'all. I'm so sad, though. The season is about to end. I can't believe we are at this point already. As sad as I am, I know that the 24 season is gonna be here before we know it. If you've been paying attention to this channel all season, thank you so much. I say it every year. This season changed my life. We grew all of our platforms by thousands over these past couple of months, generated thousands of views around all in New England, and every single day, the RB Army kept growing stronger and stronger. Let's get this video to 300 likes, and of course, subscribe to the best family here on YouTube. Just to break down the agenda today. I'm gonna talk about Umass versus UConn. I went to that game. We're gonna discuss one of the biggest upsets in recent memory, Catholic Memorial versus Marshfield. We'll talk to Davin and Tyler Amaral, who was at that game. It'll be a good preview for the KP Marshfield game. I have to apologize to Marshfield. And then, of course, we'll do the predictions, Division 1 through Division 8, on who I think will win the Super Bowls this year. Without further ado, let's jump into the RB show. I actually wanted to open this show up today talking about the NEPSAC bowl games. As many of you know, I dropped a banger of a show where I previewed all 7 of the bowl games, talked to some coaches, made some predictions. Overall, it was a good time and we had a blast on the show. So I do have some teams to apologize to. Rivers, Canterbury, Deerfield, Cheshire, Choate, and Lawrence Academy. I picked against all of y'all. My apologies. Hey, shout out to BB&N though, so I didn't go winless. I do have to say something, right? So these videos are fun. They make my day. However, I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm an entertainer. This is a YouTube channel where I can state my opinion if I want to. And when I did the NEPSAC bowl game, I think that was missed. And maybe I didn't say it enough, that these are just my predictions. I don't expect everyone to agree with me. Nobody's ever done a video like that for the NEPSAC. I did catch some heat for that video, make no mistake about it. When you pick against some teams, that gives them fuel, that gives them bulletin board material. And I clearly did, because that Sunday after the bowl games, y'all, I heard it from some of y'all. Mainly on Instagram. I don't have Snapchat and I haven't been uploading to TikTok. But a lot of the kids were poking fun at me on Instagram, which is fine because that's what I expected from them. They're having fun with it. They're kids. They would clip what I said and then post it in their videos, or they would tag me in their Instagram comments. It was all fun and games. I was all good for that. However, there was one situation where a coach from Rivers felt like I disrespected their program. He took it to Twitter, basically clipping what I had said about how Pingree was going to beat Rivers, how I did no research on Rivers. It was like 8 tweets though, y'all, and I'm not gonna show you it just because I'm over the situation, but the coach really went in on your boy. And at first when I saw this, guys, no lie, I was upset. I was angry. I was like, dude, this guy's calling me lazy and saying I disrespected their senior class, and I grinded to get that video up. I got 2 videos up that day in less than 24 hours. I was up so late grinding, filming, editing, doing what I do for the viewers. And for this guy to say that I was lazy, bro, type out a couple responses, but never hit send. Because I talked to some people I know, some of my advisors, some people that I trust, and I told them about the situation. And one of them said one of the best pieces of advice. You can take that in so many different ways. You can take it as this guy is trying to mess with you. He hates you. You can take it personal. You can have hate and revenge towards this guy. All of that. You can just drop it, forget about it, let it roll right off your chest. Or you can take it as legitimate feedback, dissect what he said. So instead of responding, I sat there and I thought about it. And you know what? Y'all, I don't disagree with some of the things he said. I didn't do enough research about Rivers, and when I watched that video back, I basically didn't talk to them. I brought in 3 coaches to talk about every team, and Rivers basically wasn't one of them. So I understand why, if you're a Rivers coach or somebody that supports Rivers, you might have been like, it's a little bit disrespectful. We're in the bowl game too, and you haven't even done any research on us? You don't know that we have a Division I basketball player on our team that's been balling out for us? You don't know that we have a stud quarterback that's been slinging dimes all year? Or all the tremendous lacrosse players we got on our team? No, I didn't do that research, Rivers. I definitely didn't respect the program enough to at least do some research to talk about them in the video. I basically just said they're going to lose to Pingree because Pingree is Pingree. Because I've seen Pingree play over the years. Even if I had done the research, I probably would have still picked Pingree. However, I do agree with the point that I should have done more research on Rivers. I apologize to them specifically. While I don't agree with how that coach approached the situation on Twitter, there is some value to what he said. I forgot to mention, at the very end of his Twitter tirade, he said all these things, and then at the end he said, I would like to invite you to our banquet on December 6th, I think it is. Said he'd reimburse my gas and I get a free meal out of it. I appreciate the invitation, but I'll have to pass just because I will be going on a long vacation after the season. After all the endless hours of editing, working my regular job, and just living my life, I need a break. That's all I'm gonna say. This is a YouTube channel where I speak my mind and I can do it whenever I want. You don't have to watch my videos, but just know that I'm not gonna hold back. Even if I'm wrong on bold predictions, guess what? I'm gonna be doing this for a long time. I'm going to be wrong a lot more times on this channel when it comes to my predictions. I'm going to be wrong this weekend, probably, when it comes to my predictions for the Super Bowl. I'm not going to let me being wrong and people being pissed off deter me from making my prediction. Because who wants to watch if I just came up here and said, well, Pingree might win or Rivers might win or Foxborough might win or Hanover might win. St. John's Prep might be Xaverian, or Xaverian could be St. John's Prep. Boo! That's boring. Clicks and likes and views are what drive social media, buddy. If you can't take me being wrong a few times on this channel, it might not be for you. We're gonna bury that hatchet there. On Saturday, I experienced a first of many. I was thinking about going to Bedford Londonderry, watching that state championship rematch from last year, which was one of the better games I've seen, by the way. But then I get a tweet from Corey Schneider. He is very involved with the NIL collective for UMass. He said, come out to Amherst and watch the Minutemen play UConn. And I sat there and thought about it. Should I go and watch a rematch that's only a couple minutes away from me? Would be easy content to grab. Or should I take a 2-hour drive out to Amherst for my first time and watch the Minutemen and UConn play for the first time? Was it really an option? No. This season specifically has been disappointing for UConn. After making it to a bowl in Jim Moira's first year as head coach, they had a lot of momentum entering the 2023 season. And unfortunately, it wasn't at all the season they wanted. And for UMass in Don Brown's second year in his rebuild, while they did take a step forward, they finished with only 3 wins on the season, which actually is an accomplishment because last year they only won 1 game. Not to say it's a moral victory, at least you're making strides in the right direction during a rebuild. By this point in Walt Bell's tenure, people already knew he wasn't the guy. I had some thoughts about this though that I wanted to tell y'all because I think that it was very interesting game day in Amherst, being one of the smaller colleges who traditionally the past couple years has been at the bottom of the FBS level. Just from the people that I know have gone to UMass, UMass is a fun school. They call it Zoomass for a reason, y'all. And for those of you who don't know, they were a powerhouse when they were an FCS program, winning national championships, going multiple times. So there is a winning tradition at UMass. What I thought about it on game day. So I roll up there was a good amount of people there. There was a tailgate scene at Amherst, and I was kind of pumped about that. I got there bright and early. Shout out to Mark Martin. A lot of people had plenty of good food, had different sodas to drink at 8 a.m. as well. UConn and UMass both have tremendous bands, by the way. So the game day atmosphere, it was kind of there for both teams that are not having good seasons, losing seasons that is. You know, I kind of appreciated the game day environment that UMass did have. And while it certainly isn't like an SEC or an ACC game day, I did enjoy myself. It would be very interesting, and I think that there could be some serious buy-in, though, if they do turn a corner. You can tell back in the day, when they were national champions, they were a winning program, they probably had that stadium packing and rocking every Saturday. When you're out in Amherst, there is nothing. It's a beautiful drive out there. Your ears will pop a few times, but you really wonder if they can create a good football team or basketball team out there. Because for those of you who don't know, in the 90s and the early 2000s, like John Calipari, the Kentucky head coach, legendary head coach that is, made his start at UMass with Marcus Camby. Again, the tradition is there. In the days of NIL, it is different now how to win. But when I went out there, I did see that football is important to the people of Amherst. All you students out there, you better start supporting the football team because Don Brown is going to change some things around over there. And when he does, you guys better go out from the tailgate and take your drunk butts and go watch some football. That would be a fun place to have a good college football team. In my opinion, they got the guy to do it with. To shift gears though, to talk about the game though, because I'm going to give you the real spill. It was a very disappointing game for UMass because I'm going to actually give John Serenitas credit for this quote. While finishing with 3 wins is an improvement, I do think that there is a big gap from finishing with 3 wins to finishing with 4 wins. Because 4 wins is actually the most wins they've had since entering the FBS. So if you're able to do that in year 2, UConn had control over that game from pretty much start to finish. In the first quarter, they picked 6, Pumachan, jumped up to an early lead. UMass kind of was able to move the ball at the end of the game. It seemed like UConn had kind of let off on the gas, and UMass took advantage of that. But make no mistake about it. From start to finish, the Huskies won that game. The Huskies looked good on the ground. Victor Rosa had a touchdown, and they were able to control the line of scrimmage on UMass. Nothing was working for UMass all game. They weren't able to establish the run. Pumachan couldn't get in rhythm, and the defense was playing well, but they were on the field so much, eventually they did crack a little bit. UConn at least goes out on a high note. Jim Mora made a lot of noise last week because of his NIL comments, basically stating, hey, listen, we're going to be playing some big teams these next couple of years. If you want to complain, you better start donating so we can compete to win. For UConn, it was a disappointing season because you had guys quitting on the team. You had guys leaving the team. So for them to go out on a high note and beat their rival UMass, it is a good step in the right direction for them. And more importantly, now that the season's over, recruiting season picks up. UConn now has a leg up on UMass again when it comes to recruiting. If they're recruiting the same guy and it's down between them, hey, we just beat UMass again. I expect both of them to be very active, though, in the portal. I've already seen kids leave from both programs, but in my mind, if you're going to bring guys in the portal, they got to hit immediately. Because there have been some guys that both of these teams have got, and they haven't really panned out. For whatever reason, I don't know. I'm not there. Overall, though, great win for the Huskies. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with their conference realignment. Because while they might not be the strongest football team, they have a huge momentum booster in the UConn basketball team that everyone, no matter what conference you're in, SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, you would want UConn basketball in your conference. So does that mean UConn football will benefit from that? I think so, but that's a conversation for a completely another day. In the Final Four, one of the biggest upsets in recent memory happened. I don't care who you are or if you're willing to admit this, that before this season, everyone penciled in Catholic Memorial in the Division II state championship game. It's always been even a debate if they should even be in Division II. Back-to-back champions, easy pick, and an obvious pick at that. I told people it was going to be a KP versus CM Super Bowl, and I told those kids from Marshfield, hey man, if some of you guys ball out, this could be an offer game. Fast forward to that Saturday, I'm at PEA vs. Choate, another great game, and I'm following my boy Tyler Amaral, who's going to be joining us. And I see at the half, Marshfield was beating Catholic Memorial. Oh, whoa. Hold on. Is that a typo? No, it wasn't. All of a sudden, you see they drop 50 on Catholic Memorial, and you're like, okay, now I really don't believe this. And sure enough, the Marshfield Rams did the impossible that nobody outside of them thought they would do and beat the two-time defending state champions, Catholic Memorial. Could not tell you a time that a team hung 50 up on a Jonathan DiBiaso run team. They dropped more points than Prep and that team in Florida did. You would think after Marshfield had a great season, only losing 2 games to Methuen and Prep, just beat Catholic Memorial, is riding an all-time high, one of the best upsets in recent state history. You would think that people respect them. Wrong. The Boston Globe printed Mansfield instead of Marshfield. And then on my last show, I messed up and I replaced Marshfield with Mansfield because I thought that CJ Bell, who went to St. Thomas More, came from Marshfield, and he didn't. I'm willing to take responsibility on it at least and make up for this because I and all the other media outlets that completely disrespected them and counted them out owe this entire team and community and a giant apology. I am beyond excited that they get to play KP in the Super Bowl. I think it's great for football, by the way, because every year, because the past couple years after the Super Bowl, you hear people complain saying, oh, well, we're a public school. We're not a private school. Well, there's no argument now. These are 2 public schools that are going to be going at it for the Division II Super Bowl. Because this was one of the biggest upsets in recent memory, I reached out to Tyler and asked him if he could talk to me about the CM Marshfield game, and then tell me about Marshfield and preview a little bit for their matchup against KP. And then I spoke to 2025 running back Davin, who I call the CM Slayer. He has been making a lot of noise across the entire state. One of the best running backs, so I reached out to him. I actually filmed this last week, but didn't have time to post the show, but I still wanted to use this footage. So everyone enjoy the 2 interviews, and shout out to the main man, Tyler Amaral, for being here tonight. Everyone go follow him. You saw what I think might have been one of the biggest upsets in a long time. Marshfield versus Catholic Memorial. Walk me through what happened on Saturday.
I think it was clear from the get-go that Marshfield believed that they could win that game. Junior cornerback Gio Joseph picked up the opening kickoff, just took off down the Marshfield sideline, 90-yard touchdown right off the bat. So they struck first. You know, I was talking to Coach Aruka. He said 2 years ago we played CM in the playoffs. We were shut out. So just for them to be able to score immediately right off the bat, that gave them some confidence. And so they fell down 14-7. And then once they got that offense going and they were able to establish their pace, and they got that confidence on the offensive side when they were able to tie it at 14. You know, you could tell they just started to believe with each passing minute, each passing possession. They felt like they were in that game, not just in it, but that they could win that game and knock off CM.
You know, I was there when Prep beat CM, but that's different. That is way different, Tyler. When was that moment when you were like, okay, hold on, I think this is going to happen?
So I think it was like right towards the end of the first half. CM went up 14-7, and the game was tied at 14. And CM went back ahead a couple times, and then just before the half, you know, Davin scored his 3rd touchdown of the half, and that made it 28-27 Marshfield. And at that point, I said, okay, this is for real.
So talk to me about Marshfield, because I've never seen them play. I like a lot of people, Tyler. One, I didn't know anything about them. 2, I confused them with Mansfield. Here they are with arguably the biggest win in Massachusetts this season.
First off, they play at a faster pace than anyone you'll see in the state. As soon as the ball is set, they're ready to go to get a playoff. And that really wore more on CM as the game went on. CM had a clear size advantage like they do over most teams, but Marshfield, that pace that they play at, they're as well conditioned as any team in the state. They're ready for this. They'll get off 80, 85 plays in a game, no problem. This was my fourth time seeing Marshfield this year, and I saw them play prep week 1, and they lost by 21. They lost to Methuen, and then I saw them week 3 in their first win of the year against Mansfield, and now I've seen them back-to-back games against Bishop Fien and CM. Obviously, they've won both of those games. They put up 50 in both of those games against two very good Catholic schools. There are a ton of juniors on this team. So this isn't just like a one-hit wonder, 1 year type of thing for Marshfield. There are a lot of juniors, so they're going to be in the mix again next year as well.
What was the vibe like? I can't imagine. I saw some of your video, Tyler. It was absolutely packed there. So what was the vibe like at the stadium?
It was amazing. I mean, there are a ton of people from Marshfield. It's not a bad commute from Marshfield to Bridgewater Random High School where the game is played. So, I mean, the way BR is set up, like they have a decent amount of bleachers. CM side was pretty full. Marshfield side was entirely full. And then behind both end zones, there's a fence that runs parallel with the end zones. Those were loaded with Marshfield. You know, one side was students. The other side was just people from the town. Just a ton of Marshfield fans. And you could tell that like with each passing possession that they just started to get more loud, started to get more vocal. And they were starting to think like, wow, we really might pull this off. Marshfield might defeat CM and pull off, you know, one of the biggest upsets in recent memory.
I'm actually going to speak to Davin later on tonight, but tell me about him. He is that guy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was amazing in this game. Just his vision and his patience. The offensive line did a very good job against CM. Again, they were at that size disadvantage, but they did a good job opening holes. And if there was a hole, he was going to find it. You know, always falling forward. He invited contact. He made some big plays. And then when they were down 14-7, that first scoring drive on offense, it was only 3-play drive. In the last 2 plays were 2 carries, 58 yards for Davin True, including a 46-yard run. And at that point where, you know, he hit the hole, then he cut back across the field, he's outrunning some of those CM defenders. So that was really impressive watching him play. You know, so it's not just him. They're loaded at the skill spots. Good offensive line as well. But Davin had an outstanding game. Junior quarterback Umass, like this is a complex offense. Again, they play at a faster pace than anyone. He's a first-year starter, and he has this thing mastered right now. Like I saw him play his first start ever, right? They throw him out there against St. John's Prep. So like that was the introduction to varsity football. But each game that I've seen him, you know, I saw them week 3, and then I've seen them the last couple weeks as well. And he has that offense mastered. They play at that pace, but when they had to slow it down and chew clock, they were able to do that as well. They chewed 6 minutes off the clock, fourth quarter drive against CM up 12 to really ice the game. They ended up scoring on that drive. He's like 6'4", 210. Like he's a big kid. He's a good sized quarterback. And they were on their own 38, and they ran a little QB draw, and he makes a man miss, and then he carries a couple of CM defenders and picks up 12. And like that was a big momentum shifting play right there. That's at the point where the game where Marshfield started to say, okay, you know, this is our game. Like if we lose, it's because we've blown it at this point. They have one captain on the team. They only have like 12 seniors on like an 85-man roster. His name's Nick Couples. You know, they give him the ball out of the backfields. They'll throw screens to him. They throw it downfield to him. A lot of jet stuff with him. You know, he had like 80 all-purpose yards in this game. Again, they give him the ball in a multitude of ways. Charlie Carroll's their number 1 pass catcher. He's a junior as well. This kid, Jake Brilliant, he's also a junior. He had a nice game in this one. They got the ball to him in the second half. He had 2 second-half touchdowns. They're just a really impressive team.
This is most certainly not the Super Bowl prediction that at least I had. I won't speak for you, Tyler. KP versus Marshfield. How are you feeling about that one?
This is going to be probably the best game of the 8, I would say. These contrasting styles, they make for the best games, right? Like KP hasn't been slowed down all year, and nobody's been able to score on KP all year. I think that changes. I think Marshfield is going to be able to score. At this point, I'm still leaning KP by like a touchdown. I might change my mind before the game kicks off. I think this is going to be an awesome game. I think it's going to be like 28-21, something like that. Marshfield, the way they've been playing recently, they scored 50 in all 3 playoff games. That offense is clicking right now. I think they could score on anyone. After seeing them put up 52 on CM, it's like, that's so eye-opening. Like, if they do that to CM, who everyone considered the favorite, not just in that game, but in D2, you know, they're going to be able to do that on anyone in the state. So it's just going to come down to which team's able to control the pace. You know, another thing Coach Aruka said, like, we want to play at this pace, but this pace only works if we're able to pick up first downs. And they started getting first downs. Again, it was more methodical, 5 yards, 6 yards, but they're able to move the chains, right, against CM. So if they're able to do that against KP, then I think they're going to be able to win the game. I'm looking forward to it. Should be one of the best games of the year in the state.
the slayer of Catholic Memorial, along with his whole team, of course, Davin True. Davin, how you doing today, boss?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. For those of you who don't know, so he had a great game against CM, as we heard Tyler speak earlier, but then I couldn't interview him yesterday because he actually had work. Davin, is that right? You went from beating CM and then you worked the next day?
Yep.
Did you do a full shift?
Yeah, 9 to 9 or 8 to 9. Sorry.
That's notable in itself, Davin. You know, I had to shout you out in that regard, especially you're only a junior in high school. Let's talk about the game. So you guys have had, what is it, back-to-back 50-point wins prior to that? Is that right?
Yeah, we've had, I don't even know how many in a row, but we've had a few in a row.
I think it was you guys haven't scored less than 40 since September, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
Davin, what makes this offense so special?
All the talent we have in like every single one of our positions. Our defense especially, they get no credit, but we got a ton of really good players on our defense that really like set our offense up with like good situations, like, and like even our receivers and our quarterback. We have so many people to just make plays, and it opens up so much for me like on offense, and there's like so many different packages where I come out, other people come in, and just it really helps me get open.
Name drop some of your guys, because you and Tor are two of the best players in the state. You know, there's 11 men on both sides of the ball and special teams.
We got Charlie Carroll, Nick Couples, Reed Bergameska. Like, even we got some depth in our receivers with Cole Summers, Jake Brilliant, who had 2 touchdowns against CM. We got Brady Crowley for our line, Tommy Bongelotti, which is one of my best friends, and Grady Holmes, 6'7", 300 pounds as a sophomore. We just got so many people that just contribute to everything.
Apparently the Boston Globe printed it was Mansfield. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
So I do that. The Boston Globe does that. And you guys beat the favorite in D2, and people, like, how does that feel that people are still printing Mansfield, you know, Davin?
I love being like the underdog, and like people don't like know us or know who we are, and we can just come out and pretty much beat any team we play. I like love the disrespect that we get like as a team. No disrespect towards you, but like
No.
Like I love seeing like people like make mistakes like that, and I don't know, it just makes me, it helps like us thrive as a team.
No, that's not, listen, Davin, that's not disrespectful at all. If anything, I deserve the disrespect because what I did was disrespectful. So talk about beating CM. I know you guys all believed in yourselves. I know that. I'm not even going to question that. But how y'all played too, the better team won.
Like, I mean, there's just a lot of emotion still. Like, I still haven't processed that we're like going to play in Gillette Stadium. Like, it still feels like it's like a dream. It kind of feels like we gotta like get back, because 2 years ago we played them and they smoked us 41-0. We just went and we put 50 on them. Just felt great.
You guys put up more points than St. John's Prep did. I don't know a public school team that's put up 50 points on CM.
We kind of went into the game knowing like what we were capable of as an offense, and it was more about like the execution of it. We go and we play Bishop Fian, who's only allowed like 12 points a game all season, and we put like 50 on them, going against these teams that don't allow a ton of points, and we just kind of throw everything we have at them at the beginning of the game and kind of like hope for the best and keep it rolling.
Now, KP, because everybody, you know, and I'll say it right now, and you know, you already said you love when people do this, but they weren't preparing for Marshfield. Talk about them as an opponent, what it's like to be playing King Philip.
I've seen things that say they're only allowed like 8 points a game, and like things like that. Like, I think as offense as a whole is like motivation for us to come out and keep doing what we've been doing. And I mean, I feel like our defense will be well prepared for this week, and this is their week to really like kind of show out and show who they really are as a team.
How many seniors will be leaving that start and play right now?
For offense, there's going to be 5 seniors that we're losing. Defense, there's probably about the same 4 or 5 people.
And then everyone else is coming back.
Yeah.
Man, you guys are going to be dangerous next year, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Talk about the community of Marshfield, the fans, you know,
What has this meant that you guys have made it this far?
Our fans are great. Like they come, they support us at all of our away games, and I see a bunch of my friends in the rain and the cold, shirtless with body paint on, like showing the dedication, like in that freezing weather, like the dedication from our fans. Like we probably had over 500 fans at the game, like watching us, ready for us to play.
Has it sunk in that you're going to play in Gillette yet?
Nope, not at all.
What's that like? You know, I don't know if you're a Patriots fan or not, but I me growing up a Patriots fan, I would have loved that experience.
Still can't like process that, like that's where all these NFL teams play, and like it's still like just like a crazy feeling.
So, Davin, let's talk about you and your style of play. You are just a straight up DAWG dog. How would you describe your style? Who are some players you look up to? Like, let's hear it.
The main guy that like comes to mind is Marshawn Lynch. Like I kind of grew up watching him. Like I've always personally been a big Marshawn Lynch fan. I mean, I'm kind of like the same way as him. Like I'm always eating candy on the sideline. Like I feel like I play a lot like him.
The yards on the field show that you can make that claim. You want to play football in college, or are you a lacrosse guy? Talk to me about that.
I want to see what I can get for football. If not football, then I want to go somewhere with lacrosse.
I think if you keep your grades up and keep them good, I think there's quite a few schools that could use plenty of Davin Trues. I know that to be a fact. Take this time and shout out your friends and family.
I've shout out all my coaches and all my family that have helped me get through all this way, especially Coach Downey. He's my tailbacks coach, and Coach Ruka as well. Awesome coaching all the way around. Shout out to recruiting board.
Division 1 Super Bowl. I've been saying this for weeks now. I love the fact that this game is happening, especially after the thriller that happened on Thanksgiving. For those of you who don't know, Luke Bell drilled a 30-yard field goal as time expired to give Xaverian the win over St. John's Prep. I was at the Needham-Wellesley game. People in the crowd were asking me. Some of the players were asking me. They said, oh, do you think those guys are going to play their starters? Do you think they're going to take this game seriously? And everyone knows, if you've been paying attention on the show, I said yes. This game means a lot to the alumni base. People from all around the country travel to Massachusetts for this game. The alumni and the administration support the teams in more ways than one. There will never be a time where Xaverian and Prep play each other, no matter what sport it is, and they don't want to win. Xaverian, though, lost Henry's two top offensive weapons, Denzel Pierre and Jonathan Montero, against Needham. So going in, Xaverian was already at a disadvantage, and then people already picked them to lose to Prep just because Prep has not lost a game all year. So like a lot of games this year, Xaverian went in as the underdog. This question will always be answered now. If Prep and Xaverian were to play in the Super Bowl, would they take the game seriously on Thanksgiving? Yes. Whether or not both teams showed their hands offensively, especially, probably not. I could say definitely not. But credit to Xaverian coming in short-handed, definitely at a disadvantage, and winning the game, giving them a lot of momentum entering the state championship game. Let's be honest though, if you're Prep, or if you're really either of these teams, that was the game to lose. You always want to go in, especially a rivalry game, wanting to beat the pulp out of the other team. However, if you really are going to sit here and say that winning the Catholic Conference and on Thanksgiving is more important than winning the state championship game, absolutely not. That was the game to lose if you're going to lose it. I'm going to take this time, though, to give a lot of credit to Xaverian, since their devastating loss to Catholic Memorial has been playing their best football. No one across the entire state has played as tough of a schedule week in, week out as Xaverian has this year. Put in the comments or at me on Twitter if you think I'm wrong about that, because I'm very passionate that I'm right. Let me read to you their opponents this year. They played Springfield Central twice. They will play St. John's Prep twice. They played Catholic Memorial, BC High, Central Catholic, Needham, Everett, St. John Shrewsbury twice, who was a playoff team. And they made me look so dumb because I was down on them in the preseason. I didn't think they were going to be as good as they clearly are. They are now a clear-cut top 3 team in the state. We'll have to see how the championship unfolds, but Xaverian, this has been a great season for them. Win or lose in the state championship game. I think, though, for Prep, while they're certainly not happy that they lost to Xaverian on Thanksgiving, especially the way they did in a heartbreaker, from some of the stats I saw, they definitely didn't show their hand offensively. They only ran LaGrassa a few times. They didn't really use Nardone a lot. They gave some valuable reps to some younger guys, but they definitely kept majority of their dudes fresh. This loss definitely rocks the boat over there in Danvers a little bit, but the defending state champions are going to be ready for a fist fight in Gillette. If you're Prep, though, you are on more of an alert this week because it is concerning that Xaverian did beat them without Montero and Pierre. My prediction, though. This is so tough, man. I'm going to catch some hate on this. Oh my god, I'm gonna catch some hate on this. I've been going back and forth each week, y'all, but I'm gonna pick St. John's Prep to win it. It's so hard to beat a team twice, especially in under a week, and I think Prep is just ready for this moment. They were in the state championship last year. They know how to perform in the big moment and recover from a loss. I think that Prep overcomes the Thanksgiving loss and beats Xaverian. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. For Division 2, obviously we had a huge shakeup here that we talked about earlier. Unless you live in the zip code 02050, you, like me, thought that the Super Bowl we were going to see was King Philip versus Catholic Memorial for the 3rd straight year. Well, Davin and Marshfield had something to say about that. Because in the Division 2 Super Bowl, undefeated King Philip at 12-0 versus the Marshfield Rams at 9-3. They played each other last year in the playoffs, where KP won, and they played each other in 2016 in the playoffs, where again, King Philip won. King Philip being undefeated and being in the state championship game shouldn't come to a surprise to absolutely anyone, considering I didn't even have them in my preseason top 10 across the state. More words I am eating every single day. They have scored 113 points in 3 playoff games. That is wild, bruh. King Philip is playing complete dominant 4-quarter football in November. Which is why year in and year out, King Philip is able to do what they do every year, and that is win. Getting to their 6th state championship in 7 years. That is so impressive. Their offense is so efficient. And while everyone knows their bread and butter is running the hell out of the ball because they have a couple great running backs to do it with Drew LaPlante, Astornia, Tommy McLeish is also a stud that I feel like gets forgotten about in that offense. Like against Barnstable, for instance. He completed 7 passes for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. Stopping their run game is already hard enough. But then imagine if McLeish is also averaging 20 yards at completion. I'm not sure an entire team in the state that is going to be able to stop that. They are one of the few teams in the state that can come out in a heavy set with 1 wide receiver and still have an explosive big play. All of a sudden, Mason Campbell or Danny Salveri is wide open and nobody's around them for 30 yards. You're in trouble if you're not able to defend that. I will say this though, defensively, KP is in for a battle because Marshfield's offense is nothing like they've seen all year. This high-power, up-tempo offense that's going to keep you on your heels at all times. If it worked on CM, the Rams have something going. KP is extremely battle-tested with that defense. They played Walpole this year and blanked them week 1. They beat Foxborough, who only had 1 touchdown, and not to mention the string of games that their defense has put together in the playoffs. Next, we talk about Marshfield. I am so proud of this team. Nobody thought that they could beat CM other than them, and they proved the impossible, and this is why we love high school football. However, I'm going to say this, the Rams didn't come this far just to come this far. I know how they are. They are not happy that they lost to their rival Duxbury on Thanksgiving, which gives them a little bit of weird energy, definitely not the momentum that they wanted to carry, but we know that this offense is beyond legit. I'm going to be very interested to see, can Marshfield do what they did to CM? And that is punch them in the mouth early and fast. If they're able to get that run game going early and develop the tempo they want offensively, that is going to be dangerous for King Philip. Because I don't think King Philip wants to get in a shootout with Marshfield. Absolutely not. There aren't many teams that are going to win that game if you get in a shootout with them. And we know that even if there is a size disadvantage, CM had a clear size advantage over Marshfield. But honestly, I think we can negate that as well. The Rams trenches, they have played some of the best talent week in and week out and have been able to score on basically anyone this season. Also, for Marshfield, I think this game is going to come down to limiting all mistakes as possible and capitalizing on any mistake that King Philip makes. Anytime they turn the ball over, which isn't very much, you have to make them pay for it. Can they rob a few yards on special teams? That's what they were able to do to Catholic Memorial on the very first play. I'm going to expect a big game out of Gio Joseph. Corners and safeties when you're playing a team like KP are so important because they are always looking to drop off a big play. You have to take McLeish into account. There are so many plots and stories to this one. Marshfield, the true underdog that nobody saw getting past CM. KP can go for 13-0. These teams have history in the playoffs with each other. KP looking for their first state championship since 2017. Marshfield looking for their first state championship since 2014. Oh my god, y'all, this one's so hard because obviously I just had Davin on and Marshfield has had an incredible run this entire season, but I have to go with King Philip because I did them so dirty this year, y'all. I didn't even have them in my top 10. And look at the season that they had. Completely dominant. Not only that, I think it's worth noting that KP actually faced some heat earlier in the year for some allegations that you can do your own research on. And I credit Coach Brian Lee and the entire KP team because instead of letting that affect their culture, and instead of letting that loom over their season or create any negative energy, they did the best thing that they can do, and they just kept winning. I got KP winning this one, and Brian Lee adding another one to his impressive resume. Walpole versus Milton. Now for this one, we're gonna have to take you back in time, y'all. September 29th. Walpole would start their season at 1-3. At this point in the year, their season looked gloom. Everyone on the outside looking in thought that Walpole was going to be irrelevant, and nobody was really talking about them. We talked about September 29th, now let's talk about October 13th. Because on that day, Walpole shocked the entire state when they completely dismantled the favorite to win all of Division III. A team who had made it to the state championship the year before and was undefeated. A team who was heavily favored to win that game. The Milton Wildcats. Walpole dropped 42 that night and haven't looked back. And since then have rattled off 8 straight wins. Junior Noah McKenzie has solidified himself as a legitimate prospect in this state and one of the top quarterbacks in this state. Additionally, he has one of the top playmakers, especially when he gets the ball in his hands with those rack yards. Jamal, if you've been a weekly viewer of the show, I've been on the Walpole train for a long time now, so I am not at all surprised to see them in the Super Bowl. I predicted them to be in the Super Bowl. And when you are as battle-tested as Walpole has been this year, and you can score the points like they've been doing, it is very hard to pick against them. And it's funny because when they beat Milton, I remember everyone was asking, oh, well, is Milton even that good? What's wrong with them? Did they not play well? And it completely devalued how good Walpole is. And now we know that them winning that game woke up a monster in the rest of Division 3. And Milton losing that game, they would go on to lose 3 straight weeks. They lost to Walpole, then Taunton, and Natick to end out their regular season. And I was very concerned for the Wildcats when this happened, because I am a huge proponent of you need to have momentum entering the playoffs. Ending your season on 3 straight losses is deflating. I don't care who you are. But Milton and Coach Dembo completely tuned out everything I had to say. Every time I picked against them, they just continue to win. In the playoffs, scoring 30, 28, and 37 points on their opponents. After their offense had struggled, which for Milton, you can't really do, because that's kind of their bread and butter. That's what Dembo is known for, is running the spread and scoring a lot of points. So if their offense is struggling, not really a good day for them. For anyone who think that the Wildcats are going to get rolled by Walpole at Gillette, I have news for you. I don't think that's going to happen. They have built their schedule for this moment. Dembo loaded up his schedule, has played some of the best teams in the state, so they would be prepared for this moment. Yeah, they got their doors beaten off by Walpole earlier this year, and that was a long time ago too. Milton and Walpole are 2 completely different teams now. It's going to be a wild, wild west, because both these teams are just going to be going through the shotgun and airing the ball out. But I really wonder which team is going to be able to solidify their run, because in November in New England, obviously it is cold. Right now, the temperature is scheduled to be 46 degrees with a 9-mile-per-hour wind on Thursday night. You're going to have to be able to run the ball, because if you get up a certain amount of points, one of those teams is going to need to drain the clock. Or is the run going to be what's primarily working, because it will be so cold and the wind will be blowing? The name of the game when beating Walpole, you got to limit that big play. Can Milton get multiple defenders around Jamal when he catches the ball? Not if, when he catches. He is so good at getting yards after the catch. If you aren't giving him help with a safety and your corner gets beat, all of a sudden the band plays. Milton will have to apply as much pressure as they can on McKenzie. Any error that they can create will rattle Walpole's offense, and they will have to take advantage of those mistakes if any are created. Milton's feeling good about this one though. They've gotten their swagger back. They know they can win this game. These guys have been here only a year before. They faced some adversity, which is more than they faced last year. So I do think that this is going to be a different Milton team that Walpole plays. For Walpole, making sure they're not in the game. You don't want it to be a close game if you're Walpole. You want to just completely take the win out of their sails early. You want to be aggressive early, in my opinion. Take your shots. Get Milton on their heels, because you really can't have them thinking that they can win this game. At the end of the day, Walpole has the recipe to beat Milton. Milton does not have that recipe yet. They still have to find it. They're hoping that whatever they concocted this week will work. I'm very excited to see this game. I've been on the D3 train for a while now. I think it's one of the most competitive divisions. I pick Walpole to win this one though, winning their first state championship since 2008. We get a rematch from 2021 in Division 4, where that was a very dramatic Super Bowl. Duxbury versus Scituate. This will be a good one. Shout out to Scituate, the 7th seed, went on a roll, and they haven't lost since early October. Upset Holliston, and they beat Grafton on their way back to Gillette. These 2 teams are very familiar with each other throughout the years, and they're built kind of similar. They both have great running backs in Alex Bureau and Alex Barlow. Are not only great players, but they also have great names, by the way. Put in the comments below what you think the over-under in that game will be in terms of rushing. Duxbury is just one of those teams that consistently, no matter what division they are in, they always have a tremendous championship team. I also want to shout both these teams out because they really lose a lot of kids to the prep schools. Like, I wonder how different their rosters would be if those kids never left. Because these are already two of the top two teams. Imagine having all those prep school kids that leave and go play lacrosse at another school. I'm pretty sure George Kelly is from Scituate. Imagine having him on the team. I do think that the Duxbury Dragons go back to back behind Barlow, who's going to end his high school career in flares. I got Duxbury winning it all in that game. Bro, Division 5, we got a hot ticket. And I'll just say this, I caught a lot of smack and heat because I did not pick Foxborough to beat Shawsheen Tech. And yeah, let's just say they kind of dismantled my boys down at the tech school, unfortunately. Why'd you have to crush their hopes and dreams like that? Hanover has been lighting up everyone this season with video game numbers, it seems like. Beating Danvers only by 3 points, which was surprising to get to the Super Bowl. And Scalzi has had a tremendous season. Right from the jump, Hanover has basically been that team everyone circled in Division 5, along with this other team that they're playing, and that's Foxborough. Foxborough, the most relevant team in their town, by the way, for the first time in God knows how long, if ever, makes it to the Super Bowl after having one of the stingiest defenses and best offensive performances. Foxborough very impressively, and I didn't give them enough credit last week for the game they played against King Philip, because they limited KP only to 14 points, which is better than pretty much everyone else did. Actually, than definitely anyone else did throughout the entire season. And with their old school style of running and playing hard-nosed football, Foxborough deserves to be in this championship game at home. No surprise they put it on Friday night either to give them the main event. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be there for the Friday games. If anyone will be there and will be filming this game, let me know. You can shoot me a message on Instagram. I really never thought I would pick against Hanover in the Super Bowl because of the dominance that they've had. But I'm going to pick Foxborough. I think that the stage is set for them. At home, at Gillette Stadium. They've only let up 12 points in 3 games throughout the playoffs, while Hanover is the best offense they've faced in the playoffs. Hanover is not the best team that they've faced. And I don't know if that's the case for Hanover. Hanover did play Duxbury week 1, which we now know is a great team in Division 4. I think the best team. So I'm going to pick Foxborough in this one. I think Foxborough disrupts the pass enough for them to get the win, which is tough for me to say because like I said, I did not see this coming. I thought that I would pick Hanover. Throughout the year, I always pick them to win it. They've been my clear-cut favorite. My mind's kind of changed over these last couple weeks. I'm going to give it to Foxborough. Bruh, Division 6 is an interesting one because Fairhaven ran the table, beating Winthrop, and they went on the road, beat number 1 Norwell, and then they beat Hudson last week. Those are 3 huge wins entering the state championship game. They are red hot and have been able to run the ball on anyone in Division 6 so far. While Salem, they have turned a corner themselves. After they lost 2 games, one to Winthrop and the other to Peabody, I did not know how that would look on them entering the playoffs. After they've been my favorite in Division 6 for most of this year, really since last year and the 7-on-7s when everyone knew how talented this team was going to be, everyone was talking about them. They find themselves in the Super Bowl and have rallied from their late season blunder, scoring 33, 55, and 38 against Starnham, which I didn't pick them to win. I picked the upset in that one, sue me. Man, this one is tough. This one is tough because I love the Cinderella story here. Salem definitely though, is going to test their defense like they haven't been tested before. I don't know if Fairhaven has seen a receiver like Rocco Ryan. Corey Grimes dishing out, getting them the ball. Salem is dangerous. They're going to have to bottle up that run. I think Salem's going to win this one, which would be their 2nd state championship in program history, if I'm not mistaken. According Amesbury versus Uxbridge. Uxbridge has been dominant. What if I were to tell you that the least amount of points that they scored throughout the entire year was 33. And they're one of the only teams left in the state that is still undefeated. They play the 6th-seeded Amesbury team, who is near and dear to my heart because their head coach is Coach McQueen, who is an Exeter guy, by the way. Whenever I watch them play, it's literally watching our offense from Exeter, which is awesome. So much deja vu. Amesbury, with only 2 losses entering this game, I don't know how they were the 6th seed. They only lost to Linfield and Newburyport on Thanksgiving. I mean, this is the ultimate David versus Goliath, though. It isn't necessarily always the case when you have a 9-2 team. However, when you're playing a team that is undefeated and that has been rolling dudes and scoring as many points as Uxbridge has, you got a tall order. I will be the homer here, and I will support Coach McQueen, and I pick Amesbury to upset Uxbridge. And then lastly, West Boylston versus Carver. I'll be at this game. This is kind of a heavyweight matchup now. West Boylston hasn't lost a game. Carver lost on Thanksgiving to Middleborough. Not sure if they played all their starters or not. And I'm excited to get to watch Tyler Lennox play for the first time. West Boylston, a team that loves to run it. They have multiple variations. They have different guys that can spin off at any moment, like Connor Mudloon. I saw them play last year before they went to Gillette and won it all. This is going to be a tough one. I actually think it's going to be a very good game. We open up the state championship with this game on Wednesday. I believe it's at 5 o'clock. You know what? I'm going to pick West Boylston to win this. I think that they're going to repeat this year and go back-to-back, ending their season at 13-0. Guys, that's it for my predictions. Thank you so much for joining if you stayed the entire time. Division 1 through Division 8. I made 8 predictions. Let's see what happens. I went 1 for 6 in my bowl predictions. So hopefully my Super Bowl ones are a little bit better so I don't get quite as much beef on social media. Hopefully don't get into it with any more coaches. I want to take this time right now to say thank you so much to everyone who supported me throughout this journey. I grinded and tried to get as many pregame shows as I could. I think they were very successful. So take this time, like this video for the last time this season before we recap the season after it. Let's see if we can get it to 300 likes. If you see me at the Super Bowl, say what's up to me. The RB Army grows stronger every single day. We broke 3,300 subscribers this year. Think that was over 1,000 in one season. I'm Alex, the girl with Recruiting Board. I'll see you at the Super Bowls. Signing off.